And you see I have shown coordinate system as y and z. Z axis is pointing in this direction. I have shown cross section of the right hand. And you see if you take y axis towards z axis, so it's the right hand screw which is turning counterclockwise, and your screw will translate in positive x direction. Had I taken z in the opposite sense, then my x-axis would have gone in the opposite direction to the one shown. So the movement is externally applied at both the ends, and bending movement distribution will be constant bending movement m naught throughout the length, same bending moment. So theory of bending is exact for the situation of pure bending and doubly symmetric cross section. You see this right face, your applied movement is counterclockwise, area normal is positive, so it is a positive bending moment. So here I have shown at x is equal to L, bending moment is m naught. Here you see on the left face, applied movement is clockwise, but area normal is also negative x direction. So two negatives make a positive, again it is a positive bending moment m naught at x is equal to 0. So I have shown you bending moment distribution along the length, same bending moment everywhere. Then I had shown that earlier I had done in the last class that these sections will rotate because of the applied bending moment. And this is the shape of the deformed beam. So beam was initially straight. Due to bending, it became curved. So this upper surface has contracted. Lower surface has stretched. So fibers along the longitudinal direction you will find have contracted at the top surface. Fibers along the longitudinal direction or along direction x have stretched on the lower surface. So intermediate position, initially at top surface is contraction, bottom surface is stretching. Intermediate, there is a position where you will find that there is no change in length. So this is the intermediate surface where there is no change in length. And we show this is a deflection of the centroidal surface. Initially your centroidal surface was straight, flat. After bending, it takes a curved shape. So this is known as deflection of the beam. So beam has deflected downwards. This is my x direction, this is my y direction, my z direction. So I have taken my coordinate system at the centroidal surface. Origin is at the centroidal surface. And I am showing the deflection of the centroidal surface by these two lines. One is a straight line, another is a curved line. So here at this point, you are assuming that rotation is occurring of the cross section about the neutral axis. And what we assume in theory of bending, that this cross-sectional plane and neutral surface, they are perpendicular. Before bending, cross-sectional plane and neutral surface were perpendicular. Even after bending, they stay perpendicular. So that is the assumption, and that assumption is seen to be exact, exactly followed in real life. But that happens only in case of pure bending and a doubly symmetric cross section. Now, this rotation, we assume it is theta by 2. So this is also theta by 2. So this is theta by 2 counterclockwise. So this is theta by 2 clockwise. So you see rotation here at the left face is negative. Rotation at the right face is positive. So rotation is changing from negative to positive. So there will be a position in the middle where your rotation is 0. Rotation is not uniform over the length. It is going from negative to positive. Had it been a uniform rotation, it would have become like a case of pure rotation, a rigid rotation. In that case, you will find that rotation initially cross section was like this, the beam was like this. After rotation, your cross section and beam, they stay perpendicular and they are like this. Same amount of rotation of each cross section. The cross section changes from vertical to an angle. So Microsoft has damaged the good stuff, or maybe I'm not using it properly. Earlier we were better off. Okay, now that is clear, I think. So you see, you have strains because your rotation is not uniform. It is changing from position to position, and because of that, there is a contraction in the upper fiber and stretching in the lower fiber, and this neutral surface takes a curved shape, and it is arc of a circle. Now it is arc of a circle. So arc has a center of curvature. So this is the center of curvature, and this distance we call R neutral. This is a neutral surface. Then I told you that this angle is theta by 2. So this angle becomes theta by 2, alternate angles. This angle is theta by 2. So this also is theta by 2. So total rotation. So rotation here is, rotation at this end is clockwise. Rotation here is counterclockwise. So total rotation of beam due to bending is equal to theta, x is equal to L, minus theta, x is equal to 0. So theta x is equal to L is, in this case, theta by 2. We call it theta prime. So theta by 2 counterclockwise minus theta by 2. Because this theta here rotation is clockwise, so it is a negative number. So total rotation becomes theta. So this is total rotation of beam from right hand to left hand. It is equal to theta. Now external movement, here is m naught, here is m naught. This is counterclockwise, this is clockwise. So what is the external work done? Yes, anybody? Manjeet Singh? What is external work done? You are applied external movement. So those movements have caused rotation. And what is the work done by a movement? Movement into rotation. Since movements are gradually applied, it's not a suddenly applied movement. Movement builds from zero to the final value was this category. So external work done by this external movement is half m naught into theta by 2. You see movement is counterclockwise, rotation is counterclockwise. So it will be plus. Plus this left movement is also causing rotation. Half. Its sign is minus m naught. Rotation sign is also negative. So you get total work done as m naught theta by 2. While theta is the total rotation. Okay. Now earlier we had derived an expression 1 by r neutral is equal to m naught by ei. This expression we had derived in the last class. Also we had derived an expression sigma xx is equal to minus my by I. You see, your y is, if you look at the y, here your y is positive. This is the direction of a positive y. So at top surface, you have contraction, you have a compressive stress. At the bottom surface, you have a tensile stress. Basically, not at the surface. This top fiber is in compression, bottom fiber is in tension. So you have a tensile stress. If you take the cross section, at the bottom part of the cross section, you have a tensile stress. At the upper part of the cross section, you have a compressive stress. So I'll make it clear later on why we are talking only of the cross sectional plane here. So this stress we derived as this. Now let us see if we can find external work done. Now this is our Rn. Can you find the angle theta if we know radius of curvature? So we know this radius of curvature. What is the length of the neutral surface? Anybody? Length of the fiber along the neutral surface? Longitudinal fiber? Neutral surface does not suffer any contraction. So this length is L. So your arc length is L. So what is this angle? Theta is equal to L upon R. If you have any doubt, let me know. So you know, so what becomes your theta? L upon So this is a theta, total rotation, as you see here in the diagram. So this implies external work done. You call it W is equal to half m naught theta. Is it clear to everybody? So this is the work done in bending the beam. So whatever is the work done by the external movement, that will go to increase the strain energy of the beam. The strain energy you represent by U. So we will be discussing what is strain energy. Probably we have not done it so far. But the formula for strain energy, simplest formula is half sigma xx epsilon xx integrated over the volume. Volume I represent by omega. So this you integrate over the volume. Now stress we found was this m naught y by, or rather what we do, we can write half E epsilon xx square d omega. Now what is your epsilon xx? Epsilon xx was minus y by r. So we can use that. So half E y square by r square. So this is your r of the neutral surface. And what is your d omega? So what you do? So this was my neutral surface. I can take an element. So I take an element like this. I want to find the energy stored in this element. You see this position is at a distance y and thickness is dy. If you do that, so you see so this is the element. So you can see the element at a distance y, thickness dy. What is the volume of this element? You can say volume of the element is, you're taken along the entire length L. This depth is B into dy. So this is the volume of the element. So this you have to integrate from minus h by 2 to plus h by 2. Then your entire volume of the beam is covered. In this case, you see, your only thing that is varying is y. R neutral is same for the entire beam. Nothing else is changing. Only your y coordinate is changing. So that is why you could take an element of this type. So if you integrate it, what you get? Half E by Rn square, and you are doing y square. This LB dy you can also write as dA. L into B is the kind of an area of this element, top surface area of this element. And you multiply by dy, you get its volume. So you can say y square dA. So this you are integrating. Y square dA, you know, is Izz. If you integrate, so E upon 2 Rn square Izz. Y is the distance from z axis of this element. This was your z axis. So this becomes the distance of this element from z axis is y. Now Rn we had already calculated. Rn was m by ei. If you look at it, we had calculated Rn as m by ei. Oh. 1 by r was m by ei. So 1 by Rn was m by ei. So you have to write E by 2 Izz m naught square by ei. So what you are getting? M naught square by 2 ei. So what we have got m naught square L by ei. Okay. So there was a B dy was a cross sectional area. So I made a mistake. This B dy, this was the cross sectional area. So this Izz is only for this cross sectional. So L is continuing here. So we had just done y square. This is y square b dy integral minus h by 2 to plus h by 2. So you get Izz of the cross section. So we have to have L also here. Is it clear or you are confused? Anyway, we will be doing it again. So I just showed you that strain energy is equal to the external work done. External work done is half m naught square L by ei. Same answer you are getting. Any questions you can ask. Yes. Anybody? Any questions? Manjeet Singh, are you there? Kevalish Chawla. Is anybody there?
Sir?
Any problems?
No,
Hello, can you hear me? Are you guys there or you're sleeping?
sir, we are here.
So, are any questions? What is your name?
Himanshu Kumar. Himanshu Kumar.
Himanshu Kumar. Any questions?
No,
Is it
sir.
clear? Is it clear? Okay. Then I'll move to the other problem. Now I want to talk about the deflection of the beam. Can we calculate the deflection? So we had a beam like this. I'm showing the centroidal surface. It deflects like this. Now I'll rather draw it again. So this is my deflection, and this is my center of curvature. If I want to find the maximum deflection, can somebody find it by geometry? I want to find this deflection.
The screen is not visible.
Okay, okay. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
So I have shown the initial beam, and then this is the centroidal surface of initial. Then I have shown the band surface. Now, and this is the center of curvature of this arc. Now I want you to find the deflection. So can you find it by geometry? That is my simple question. Himanshu. You see neutral surface radius is Rn. This length is L. As you can see, even this arc length is L. Basically what happens when you load it like this, something which was initially like this slightly moves. And so this length stays equal to the original length. There is a slight movement inside. So this length, arc length is L because this is a neutral surface. Now, my target is to find this distance. This I call deflection delta. How can I find it? This angle is theta by 2. Okay. What is this? Let's give names. O, M, A, B. What is distance OM? OM is we know R neutral. R neutral into cos theta by 2. Can we say that? Okay.
Rn
My
minus
delta.
Rn minus Rn times cos theta by 2.
Yes. What is it? This is my theta by 2. This is my, so this angle, this is my hypotenuse Rn. So OM should be R neutral into cos theta by 2. That is what I think. So what is my delta? Deflection.
Rn minus Rn cos theta by 2.
Okay, Rn into 1 minus cos theta by 2. Okay. Now what is cos theta by 2? If I expand cos theta as a Taylor series, what do I get? So I expand around theta is equal to 0. So cos 0 is 1. Then I take a derivative of cos theta. So that derivative becomes 1 minus sin theta into theta. Then I have to take the second derivative. Second derivative becomes sin theta is cos theta. Then it multiplies by theta square by 2. So I have to find the value at theta is equal to 0 of these derivatives. So what I am getting? This is 0, 1 minus theta square by 2. Okay. So I am ignoring the higher order terms. Okay. Now I have to find cos theta by 2. So what I get? 1 minus theta square by 8. Okay. So what was my theta naught? What was my theta? Theta I think I had found as m naught L by EI. This was my theta. Should I check it out? Okay, we'll see. Theta is equal to m naught L by EI. So my delta becomes my delta is R neutral into 1 minus cos theta by 2. If I take 1 minus cos theta by 2, I get theta square by 8. So delta becomes R neutral into theta square by 8. R neutral. And what is my theta? I found m naught L by EI. 8 is here. And what is my R neutral? 1 by R neutral was m naught by EI. So here I get 1 by 8 m naught L by EI square into EI by m naught. Okay, so it is equal to 1 by 8 m naught L square by EI. So that is what I am expecting my delta to be. Unless there is some mistake about this, some factor of 2 or something. So we'll check it out. There are many ways of finding this deflection. So I'm going to that other method, which is simple. 1 by R I had found was equal to m naught by EI. Now there is one more thing. What is this 1 by R? This is equal to d square y by dx square divided by 1 plus dy by dx whole square to the power 3 by 2. This is some result you can get from plane geometry and calculus. So if you have a plane curve, you can find its, you see curve is given by some y's. You have given xy coordinates, so you have an equation of the curve y as a function of x. You find its second derivative. You find its slope. You will find this expression exists. So by calculus you can do it, and if you have any problem, I will do it for you. So you have to look at your books in calculus to derive this expression. Now what is happening in bending is this rotation is of a small value. It is much smaller than 1. So you can replace the denominator by 1. So 1 by Rn is equal to d square y by dx square. So R is basically radius of curvature of the neutral surface. Now, at times students get confused whether it is Rn or 1 by Rn, this expression. How will you verify, anybody, that this expression what I have written is right? You just can check the dimensions. You do the dimensional analysis. What is the dimension of Rn? Rn is a length. So this has dimension 1 by L. Now d square y by dx square. What is that? dy by dx, x plus delta x minus dy by dx at position x divided by delta x. So what is the unit of dy by dx? Anybody? Hello, are you there? Hello, gentlemen. Okay, I think I am teaching an empty class. So this dimension is, it is dimensionless because above is dimension of length, below is also dimension of length. So you have 0 dimension, you can call it L0 minus L0, again 0 dimension, dimensionless, while in the denominator you are having a dimension of length. So you see dimensions are matching on both the sides. Slope doesn't have a dimension. So again, I will just check it out. This was my deflection curve. This you can call your deflection curve. Initially, your beam was like this. After deformation, centroidal surface looks like this. This is my x coordinate. This is my y coordinate. So what is the slope here? Slope is positive or negative? So you will, how to check whether slope is positive or negative? So we have to see the coordinate system, x, y. If you take a line like this, how do you find slope here is positive or negative? So you increase your x. You have increased the x. So you see your y has increased. So this is your delta y and this is your delta x. So your dy by dx is a ratio. So it is positive because as you increase your x, your y is also increasing. So you see this is a positive slope. And how do you have a negative slope? Suppose you are going like this. So you are going from this point. You increase your x. So this is your delta x. Now what is happening to delta y? It is reducing. Your y is reducing. So your delta y is negative. So delta x is positive. So your slope is delta y by delta x. It is a negative quantity. Hello. Yes. So can you talk to me at 1 o'clock? Yeah. Okay. So you see slope is negative. So here you have a slope which is negative, and here you have a slope which is positive. So you see your tangent is making a angle counterclockwise with x-axis. It is a positive slope, and I also demonstrated you how it is a positive slope. So your slope is going from negative to positive. So what is your second derivative? Sign of the second derivative. As you are increasing your x, your first derivative is going from negative to positive. So your second derivative here is positive. And what I said about 1 by r is equal to d square y by dx square. So you see your 1 by r is also positive because second derivative is positive for this curve. So your r is also positive. Now what was the equation you had found? 1 by r is equal to m by ei. You see we had shown that we are applying a moment like this. It was a positive bending moment. So you see here you have a positive value. Here also you are having a positive. So there is no problem of sign. In some books you will find 1 by r is equal to minus m naught by ei. So everything depends on the coordinate system you have taken. Had I taken a coordinate system like this, my x-axis like this, y-axis downward positive, then what happens? Suppose a beam becomes like this after bending. What is the slope here? Positive or negative? That is my question. What is the slope of this tangent? I will tell you this slope is positive, this slope is negative. How? Now you see you have taken a coordinate system like this. If you have a line like this, you are going from here to a point which is delta x positive as you are going here. And you see what is happening to your value of y. Y is reducing. So delta y is negative. Delta x is positive. So your slope is negative. So you have to check out how, as your delta x is positive, what happens to your delta y. Only that can give you a correct value of sine. Here you see what is the angle made by the tangent with x-axis. If you look at this, x-axis positive direction, y-axis is positive downwards. Now you have a line which is going like this. What angle it is making with x-axis? Positive direction of x-axis, counterclockwise. Now you will say since it is making the tangent is making a counterclockwise angle with x-axis, slope should be positive, but it is not so. You see, as you turn x-axis towards y-axis, you are turning clockwise, and your right hand screw will go into the board. So your clockwise rotation is positive. When you have a coordinate system like this, where y-axis is downward positive, when you have a coordinate system which is y-axis is upwards positive, then you have a coordinate rotation which is counterclockwise positive. You see here, you turn x to y, this is a counterclockwise rotation, and your right hand screw will come towards z axis. So you have a rotation counterclockwise positive. When you have a system like this, as your x goes to y, you are turning clockwise, and your right hand screw goes into this direction. So here, clockwise rotation has to be positive. Because turning clockwise makes your z-axis go into this direction. you have to turn x to y. So z axis has to follow the movement of the right hand screw, and here you will find that clockwise rotation is positive, and here you have counterclockwise rotation positive. So naturally, if clockwise rotation is positive, then counter slope of the tangent, which makes a counterclockwise angle, has to be negative. So you have to understand this. This is a very fine point. So I just wrote 1 by r is equal to m naught ei by ei. 1 by r is equal to m naught by ei, where m naught is the moment applied at the ends, and this I told you is d square y by dx square. Now we have a differential equation. This is an ordinary differential equation. Is anybody there? If nobody is there, I don't mind, because I will be loading the lecture on the YouTube. So you can listen to it. I won't repeat all this. You have to go and listen to the video. So now this is ordinary differential equation. We just integrate it. What I get, dy by dx is equal to m naught x by ei plus some constant. I am integrating again. So y is equal to m naught x square by 2 ei plus cx plus d. So this is simple integration exercise. You have already done the differential equations in your first year, and this was our problem. I had applied m naught like this, and we are having a deflection like this. Now you see, at these ends, at x is equal to 0, at x is equal to L, your deflection is 0. You are assuming that deflection is 0 here. So we put these boundary conditions. Boundary conditions are x is equal to 0, y is equal to 0, x is equal to L, y is equal to 0. So these two boundary conditions are used to find these unknown constants c and d. So once we put x is equal to 0, then it makes d is equal to 0. So first boundary condition leads to this d is equal to 0. Then second boundary condition, we put 0 is equal to m naught x is equal to L 2 ei plus cl. So this implies c is equal to minus m naught L by 2 ei. So our deflection curve, what is our deflection curve? So this is our deflection curve. Becomes y is equal to m naught x square by 2 ei minus m naught L by 2 ei into x. This is our deflection curve. Suppose we want to find the deflection at x is equal to L by 2. So deflection at x is equal to L by 2, what you will get? Put the value of x as L by 2. So y becomes m naught by 2 ei, I take outside. So I get x square minus lx. So x square is L square by 4 minus lx. L square by 2. So what do I get? M naught by 2 ei. And what is this? So this is minus L square by 4. If you just take 1 by 4 minus 1 by 2, what do you get? So minus L square by 4. So your answer becomes minus m naught L square by 8EI. So I think this is what we had got earlier when we had used just simple geometry to find the deflection at the midpoint of the beam. So here I have not put a minus sign because I just found the numerical value. But since the deflection is downwards, so this has to be a negative sign. Deflection of the beam at the midpoint. So I showed you I found by simple geometry as well as by solving the differential equation. So we again look at this equation, y is equal to m naught x square by 2ei minus m naught lx by 2ei. If I take the slope of the equation, I take the derivative, what do I get? dy by dx is equal to 2 m naught x by 2ei minus m naught L by 2EI. So this is my slope. I can take m naught by EI outside, x minus L by 2. So you see, you can find slope of the beam at any position by putting the value of x. At x is equal to 0, what is the slope? Minus m naught L by 2EI. At x is equal to L, what is your slope? M naught L by 2EI. At x is equal to L by 2, dy by dx is 0 as expected. At the mid position of the beam, your slope is 0. Put x equal to L by 2. So total rotation is rotation at the right hand minus rotation at the left hand, and you get m naught L by EI. Any questions? Anybody is there? Good, I have a great. Yeah. How many people are there? Just say yes. I come to know.
Yes, sir.
Let me see.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So we have got some fellows who are
Yes, sir.
attending the class.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So you know this. Any questions? I think you'll have to listen to the lecture again because somehow I have not done a very good continuous job today. So there have been a lot of breaks. So you have got deflection of the curve, you know the slope, you know how much the cross-sectional planes rotate. This dy by dx is nothing but rotation of the cross-sectional planes. If you take the slope, this is dy by dx, I call it theta. Theta is same as slope when theta is small. You see tan theta is almost equal to theta when theta is small. And cross-sectional planes rotate so as to keep the angle 90 degrees. So you will see that from vertical, your rotation is also this theta. What you are saying here. You see this angle is 90 degrees. This angle is 90 degrees. So this is the intermediate angle. Both sides you add theta, you get 90 degrees. So these two thetas are same. So this theta is nothing but rotation of the cross-sectional plane. Rotation of the cross-sectional plane is same as the slope of the tangent to the curve, deflection curve. Any questions? So for case of pure bending, we found stresses. We found strains. We found deflection curve. We found rotation of cross-sectional plane. We found strain energy of the beam. So this was the simplest case, and we had case of pure bending. Now we'll go to the cases where we don't have pure bending. We have some vertically applied load. Then how we handle this? Then we use the same theory, but we say our results are approximate. Our results are not exact. There is a theory of elasticity approach. So that we will not be doing. If you use theory of elasticity approach, you start with some differential equation for equilibrium. I think I have already done that differential equation of equilibrium, probably. Sigma ij comma j plus bi is equal to 0. So we'll check it out if we have not done. So if you write it like this, sigma xx comma x plus sigma xy comma y plus sigma xz comma z plus body force in x direction is equal to 0 for equilibrium. So these are basically derivatives of slope. Comma represents the derivative. So del sigma xx by del x. So basically your forces are coming from only derivatives of the stresses. So you have three equations. These represent three equations. This is force balance in x direction. So you solve these differential equations with the help of applied loads and boundary conditions. And you will reach the same result as we did just now for a case of pure bending. But actual situation is not that of pure bending. You can have vertical loads. So I'll just do one simple case of vertical load. Suppose you have a beam like this. You have a cantilever. You apply a load P here. So what is the deflection curve? These are where deflection curve will be. Here you will have zero deflection. This is x is equal to 0. This is x is equal to L. This is my coordinate system. Different books take different coordinate system. This is the one I like. And this is the one used by Crandall and Doll. It's a good book. Mechanics of Solids. Other books may use downwards positive. Somehow I find this is better. Results are more consistent. Only thing you remember that deflection will be negative when it is downwards. Only when deflection is upwards, it is positive. And generally you see whenever you are doing some loading in actual real life, you are having downward deflections. So that is why a lot of books prefer downward y positive. But it doesn't matter. You can take it like this. So downward deflection will come negative. But everything looks more consistent and easy to handle. Now here, you see our bending moment is not uniform. You will find that bending, if we draw a bending moment diagram, first we can draw free body diagram of the beam. So you see if you want to equilibrate this beam, you apply a force P here. The two are making a couple. So it is a clockwise couple. You are turning the beam clockwise. So you support has to apply a counterclockwise movement on the left hand. So this movement has to be equal to P into L. Now if you see bending movement, there is no externally applied movement here. So bending movement is 0 here. And here you see there is an externally applied movement by the support onto the beam is counterclockwise, PL. And you see area normal is negative here, negative phase. So what is the bending moment here? Anybody? Is it positive or negative? So this is my positive bending moment distribution. So you see bending moment is not uniform along the lines. Till now we did a situation where bending moment was uniform. Now we are having a situation where bending moment is non-uniform. So we had derived an equation 1 by r is equal to m by ei, where our m was a constant. M was m naught. But now here what is our bending moment distribution? I can say m is equal to P into how can I write this equation of this line? Suppose I write it 1 minus P into x minus L, suppose I write. So put x equal to 0, you get minus PL. Put x equal to L, you get 0. Is it all right? Any questions? I say bending moment is at any position P into x minus L. If you had taken any position here, so you're at position x, so you could have found bending moment externally applied from the support. Now here positive shear force you will show upwards, positive bending moment you will show counterclockwise because this is a positive phase. If you take you want to find shear force, sigma Fy has to be equal to V plus P, implies V is equal to minus P. For equilibrium this has to be 0. If you take sigma Mz about this position, then vertical force V will not contribute. You get M is counterclockwise, so positive. This P is going to cause a clockwise movement about this position A. So you get minus Px. Clockwise movement about position A. And this is a counterclockwise movement PL plus PL. This has to be equal to 0. So this implies M is equal to P into x minus L, as we saw here. You could have also taken free body diagram of the right part. If we had taken free body diagram of the right part, this is our force P, and here we will take shear force V downwards and clockwise movement. This will make a positive bending moment. That's the way we take it, because the area normal here is negative. So if we take bending moment movement about this position, this distance is L minus x. So M is clockwise, so it is minus negative, and this will cause a clockwise movement about this position, about position A. So minus P into L minus x is equal to 0. So this implies M is equal to P into x minus L. So you see, you get the same answer whether you draw free body diagram of the left part or right part. So this is free body diagram of right part. I hope you are understanding. So you get bending moment distribution along the length, and it is given by a function p is equal to m is equal to p into x minus l. So I am doing a cantilever. Cantilever is fixed at one end. This is a cantilever. So what are the boundary conditions for a cantilever? So at x is equal to 0, we have y is equal to 0, and dy by dx is also 0. So this cantilever will deform like this. So you'll have a zero slope here because this is fixed into the wall. So because it is fixed into the wall, cross-sectional plane is not allowed to rotate. Dy by dx is equal to 0 means theta is equal to 0. It implies cross-sectional plane doesn't rotate. So now what is our differential equation? 1 by r is equal to m by ei. We use the same differential equation as we tried for pure bending. So these results are not exact. So you are having doing an approximate analysis. And d 1 by r I told you was d square y by dx square. M is p into x minus l. You can take ei here. So y is the deflection curve. Y is the centroidal surface. Okay. So what you integrated ei dy by dx p into x square by 2 minus lx plus c. Further integration p into x cube by 6 minus lx square by 2 plus cx plus d. Now you have some conditions: x is equal to 0, y is equal to 0. So you put x equal to 0, so it implies d is equal to 0. Then you have a condition x is equal to 0, dy by dx is equal to 0. So you put x equal to 0 in this equation. So you get a 0 here, so c should be 0. So what is the deflection curve? EIY is equal to P into x cube by 6 minus Lx square by 2. So at x is equal to L, what is the y? Put the value of x is equal to L, P into L cube by 6 minus L cube by 2. So what do you get? PL cube divided by EI. What is 1 by 6 minus 1 by 2? 6, 1 minus 3. You get minus 2 by 6. So minus 1 by 3. So the deflection at the end is, so deflection at the end of the cantilever minus 1 by 3 PL cube by EI. Can somebody tell me work done by force P? Yes? Anybody who will tell me the work done? Work done is half into load into deflection. You must listen to the lecture again, otherwise you are in trouble later on. Half is there because the load is causes statically applied. It's a gradually applied load P. So deflection is known, load is known. So what do you get? Now you see load is, direction of load and direction of deflection is same. So dot product will give you a positive sign. So you get 1 by 6 EI P square LQ. So this is the work done. So this is also equal to the strain energy stored in the beam. Whatever is the work done is converted into strain energy of the beam. There is no dynamics involved here. Beam is not accelerating. All the time equilibrium is maintained as force P is gradually increased. So you can directly find state energy if you have calculated deflection. So you have to multiply by the displacement of the force. Force moves this amount downwards as the force goes from zero value to the maximum value. So work done by the force is force into deflection, displacement. Any questions? So you have found strain energy of the beam and deflection. And what was your deflection curve? This was your deflection curve. You can also find the slope. So EI dy by dx is equal to P 3x square by 6 minus 2lx by 2. So what do you get? P into x square by 2 minus lx. So you get the slope. So what is the slope at x equal to 0? Slope is 0 as you expected. At x is equal to L, what is the slope? L square by 2 minus L square by EI. So you get minus PL square by 2 EI. You see, your beam goes like this. So this is a slope. So this slope is, it is making a clockwise angle. So it's a negative slope. Any questions? Look, I have covered a lot of bending in this class. In case you're not able to follow, listen to the video again. Any questions? So bending is a very important part of mechanics of solids course. You cannot become a mechanical engineer without knowing bending. In your future courses, again, this bending will be there everywhere. Okay. One more thing I did, 1 by R is equal to M by EI. You will find in some books it is having a minus sign. So I told you that all depends. Had you taken your y positive downwards, you would have ended with a minus sign. So you have to be careful with your coordinate system. You have to show your coordinate system in every problem. Now this was the way your R was. Okay. Do you understand what is radius of curvature? Anybody? Anyone will like to tell me about radius of curvature? You have a straight line. What is the radius of curvature? Infinite
Infinite.
Center of curvature at infinity, then it will look like a straight line. You have a curve, you draw a tangent. If you draw a tangent, you need information at how many points? For drawing a tangent, you need information at how many points? You need XY coordinate information at how many points? Yes? Anybody will like to answer? How you draw a tangent?
2 points.
Yeah, very good. So basically, when you draw a tangent, you choose 2 points and you draw a chord. You keep bringing close these 2 points and your chord becomes a tangent to the curve. Okay? But suppose you want to find radius of curvature at a point. You have a curve, you want to find radius of curvature at a point. How many information at how many points do you need? Yes? I'll say information you need is at 3 points. Can somebody justify this answer?
So when these three become collinear, the center point will be the center of curvature.
No. You choose 3 almost coincident points. Not coincident. It's a limiting case. Just like here you chose 2 nearly close points. So they were not exactly same. Otherwise you won't have 2 points. Then it becomes 1 point. So you choose here almost coincident 3 points. Then what do you gain by it? That is my question. You must have heard a theorem in geometry. You can pass a unique circle through 3 points. If you have got 3 points, you can pass a circle. You draw a perpendicular bisector. You draw a perpendicular bisector. So now this set point is equidistant from all these 3 points. So you can pass a circle. So the same idea you use. Here you can pass a circle through these 3 points. Center of this circle is called center of curvature at this point P, or the curve at this point P. And radius of this circle is radius of curvature of the curve at this point P. So close to point P, you take 2 other points and you do this exercise. So this is a limiting exercise. So you can find center of curvature and radius of curvature at any point on the curve. So suppose this is your curve. So here your center of curvature will lie on this side. Here your center of curvature will lie on this side. So your radius of curvature keeps changing. It's not constant. Do you know any curve whose radius of curvature is a constant? Yes. Circle has a constant radius of curvature at every point. Okay. So in the case of a beam, in the case of a cantilever, earlier when we did pure bending, every point had same radius of curvature, center of curvature. So you had a situation of constant radius of curvature. But now when you are not having pure bending, this thing doesn't hold. Now I am having this situation for a cantilever. So your radius of curvature is constantly changing. You have a changing radius of curvature. So your radius of curvature keeps changing. Look, I had told you 1 by r is equal to m by ei. What was your m? P into x minus l. You see, as you change your x, your r is different. Put x equal to 0, you get minus pl by ei. Put x is equal to l, you get 0. So you find that radius of curvature not constant, it is changing. Okay, one more thing. You have drawn a tangent. You have drawn another tangent. Now you draw a perpendicular to it. Can you say anything about this angle? Anybody? You see this angle is theta. This angle is theta plus d theta. Angle is constantly changing. So this is theta, suppose this becomes theta plus d theta. So what is this angle? This angle will be d theta. Whatever is the change in angle. This was your tangent. This was your another tangent. So normal to the tangent. So as the amount of tangent rotation, so will be the amount of normal rotation. Initially it was like this. So these are perpendicular. So you will find that this angle rotates. And this is the length. This is your ds, arc length. So what is ds is equal to r d theta? If you take a small length ds, you can assume your r is constant for a small length. So ds is r d theta. So what is your 1 by r? Is equal to d theta by ds, or d theta is equal to ds by r. So we say d theta is equal to ds. What was your 1 by r? M by ei. So you write, instead of 1 by r, you write m by ei. Are you following? If you integrate, so you integrate from x equal to 0 to x is equal to L. This was my cantilever. So this was my position x equal to 0. So I am going from 0 to L. So ds and dx you can make same. It's a small rotation. So you can say m is p into x minus L into dx by ei. You are going from 0 to L. What do you get? P by EI. You have to integrate x square by 2 minus Lx 0 to L. So what do you get? P by EI. L square by 2 minus L square. You get minus PL square by 2 EI. So this is a rotation undergone by the beam due to bending from 0 to L. So it was theta x is equal to L minus theta x is equal to 0. Here you see theta is equal to 0, rotation is 0. So theta x is equal to L, this is our boundary condition. So theta x is equal to L is equal to minus PL square by 2 EI. So this rotation is, you see clockwise rotation. Your cross section rotates clockwise, so it is a negative sign. PL square by 2 EI. This we had found earlier also, same result. So due to a vertically applied load P, this is the rotation. Any questions? So you have to go through the books. If somebody has Crandall and all, he can look at it. If you have got Timoshenko Gare, that is also fine. Only thing is sign convention for bending movement, etc. is different because they take a vertically downward deflection as positive. Python is also a good book. You look at that. But again, you may have same problem of sign convention. Crandall and all will be same as I did. You can listen to the video again. And we can discuss any problems you have. If you have any query, you can ask any questions. Somehow I have done a fast job today. Not much time is left in this course. So every day is important. The main thing is you have to re-listen to the videos. And then you practice it by your own hand. Otherwise it is a waste. Simple listening is not enough. And I also shared the link of lab class where I have given all the information about ASTM standards and the experiments. You go through it. We will have a lab quiz which will require your reading that material. And I have asked some of your friends to give a talk. So they will make a presentation of what they have understood out of that information that I have uploaded. So that will help you in understanding that lab material. So 3 or 4 of your friends will give a presentation. One day we'll fix the presentation time. So all of you are supposed to attend it. We will also record it. And then we'll have a quiz, lab quiz based on that. You see the videos of those experiments. All that information is there on that classroom. The classroom was created for section 2.3. So, but you all have access to it. So go through it. Any queries? I think I talked enough for the day. Main thing is rotation, bend, deflection, strain energy, stresses. You see your, now what was your stress? Sigma xx is equal to minus my by I. Now your m is p into x minus l. So your stress is become a function of position. Now top surface, you see y is, in this case, what will be the, this is a cantilever. After deflection, it goes like this. So what happens? Top surface will get stretched. You see, you will have positive tensile stress at the top surface. Not at the top surface. Cross section, top point. Top surface is stress free. I will explain you later. Only at this point, this fiber, top fiber is getting stretched. Similarly here, there will be compression. Bottom fiber is getting compressed in cantilever. You see here, maximum stresses are at fixed end. Put x is equal to L, x is equal to 0, you get, your stress becomes PL y by I. You see your y here is h by 2. It's a positive value, so you get a tensile stress. At the bottom, y is minus h by 2, negative value, you get a compressive stress. At x is equal to L, your sigma xx is 0. Because here you get a 0 value. So class is over for today.